Chapter 4. Demonstration. The day after the exams, the Fated were all seated around a table in a small cafe. We had decided to meet so we could catch up. There was still a little tension among those who weren't used to Seven yet, but it was minimal. The atmosphere was still filled with excitement at everyone being reunited for the first time since Thedas. "Please tell me you didn't lose to Mineta," Tapriya laughed at Alan. "I don't know," Alan barked. "If I did, it was only barely. He had an unfair advantage." Serena rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. You have hundreds of years of combat experience and portal manipulation. How could he possibly have an advantage on you?" "He had a motive rection," Alan tried explaining. "A what?" Seven asked. "A motive rection," Alan repeated. "You know when you're going at like 10,000% because you're motivated by your libido." "You just made that up," I laughed. "It's real," Alan insisted, "and it's your fault. You gave him that mommy motivation and walk away turned into Super Mineta. He was doing some crazy maneuvers just to get the top score. He was a man possessed." "So he was letting his motive rection do all the work for him?" Tapriya cackled. "What? Did you not have one going as well?" "Merida didn't make me any kind of promise." Alan shook his head. "So why would I?" Alan tapped the table insistently. "You all can laugh, but if I lose to that perverted little hobbit, there will be hell to pay." The group burst into laughter. Alan's frustration was palpable, and his shouting was causing him to go red in the face. "Who's going to pay?" Serena asked. "The person you have to angry at is Merida, and I'm not sure what you can do to her." I stuck my tongue out at Alan. "I don't see what you're so angry about anyway. You don't see Serena getting upset that she probably lost to Bakugo." "He was absolutely insane," Serena nodded. "Whatever training you put him and Deku through put him close to his end-of-series state. Everyone in that exercise was lucky to get any points at all with him going all out." "Speaking of Deku," Tapriya chimed in. "I beat him, sure, but holy cow. He was moving around the battlefield like some kind of super soldier. He easily came in second or third. He was chaining together robot downs faster than most of the other kids with quirks could register. It was awesome to watch." "Those two have done really well playing off one another," I smiled, proud of the results the past years of training had provided. "What about you, Merida?" Seven asked. "You were taken aside before the practicals. What happened with that?" I shrugged lightly. "I was asked to do my practical alone, just so the staff could be certain I was able to regulate my quirk safely." "A solo exam, huh?" Tapriya hummed. "How'd that go?" "She passed." Serena rolled her eyes once more. "Obviously." I chuckled and nodded. "She's right. I took down over 100 of the smaller robots and 2 of the giant ones." "Show off," Serena smirked. "That before I had to fight All Might," I smirked back at her. "I'm sorry, what?" Alan slammed his hands on the desk and leaned forward. "You actually got to fight against All Might?" That had everyone's attention. I smiled and nodded. "Holy, how badly did you beat him?" Tapriya asked excitedly. "Soundly, no doubt," Seven said. "I lost," I said simply, and sipped my strawberry shake. "Bull!" Alan balked, as the others gasped with surprise. "All Might's a powerhouse, but we all know what you're capable of. There's no way he could beat you." "Unless she was holding back," Seven observed. "That's it, isn't it? Your quirk is your radiation. Your physical capabilities might be superhuman, but I don't think they're at All Might's level yet. And if people think you only have radiation-related capabilities, you are only using them. No magic, stone manipulation, or any of the others." "That would explain it," Tapriya nodded in agreement. "You're mostly right," I replied. "I didn't use my radiation to the level I know I can. I only used just enough to burn him. I had to use precognition to be able to dodge his attacks. But even with the Force, I could barely stay ahead of him. He's just that fast. Physically, he wasn't just my superior. He outclassed me in every way. I even him with everything I had, a punch that would have destroyed a skyscraper, and he just let out a grunt." Serena's eyes narrowed suspiciously. Why did you use the past tense just now? I looked at her innocently. What do you mean? Don't try that with me, she said, as she waggled a finger at me. You said he wasn't just your superior, and that he outclassed you in every way. Normally, you would have said that he is more than your superior, and that he outclasses you in every way. But you use the past tense, as if that's no longer that case. As if... Oh my God. What? Alan asked. What? Oh. Seven chuckled. Oh? Oh what? Alan asked, paranoia settling into his tone. Tapria's eyes lit up. Wait, for real? Will someone clue me in on what's going on? Alan groaned. Tapria leaned over and flicked Alan on the forehead. Stop and think about it, you goober. She was fighting against All Might, and now she's saying he used to outclass her. Alan rubbed his forehead as he looked at Tapria. Alan tended to get caught up in his emotional reactions, and that would blind him to some pretty obvious conclusions. Tapria, flicking him, gave him something to focus on long enough for the realization to kick in. You gotta be kidding me, Alan said as he looked at me. All for one? I smiled and nodded. All for one. How much of it can you use? Seven asked, genuine curiosity in his voice. 100%, I replied. My body was more than prepared for it. All Might was using it at nearly full power when he originally got it as well, and he was just a fit, normal guy. I was already well past that. Wait, Alan said as he sat back down in his chair. All for one is essentially a force multiplier perk when it's expressed. In All Might's case, I'd say it was something in the 20,000 times multiplier to make him capable of changing the weather or doing some of the other insane things he did. Your point? Serena asked as she was waiting for Alan to get his thoughts together. What can you do now if you were already stronger than All Might was when he first got All for One? Alan asked. That question seemed to make the others all start thinking the same thing, and they all turned to look at me, waiting for an answer. I look at them all, seeing the anticipation in their eyes for my answer. I smiled and shrugged. I don't know. How can you not know? Tapria shouted. I haven't had time to experiment yet, have I? I pointed out. I spent the afternoon in the nurse's office, recovering from a bunch of broken ribs. I did fight All Might, if you recall. Really? He went that hard on you? Seven asked with surprise. I didn't really give him a choice, I replied. Alan made an annoying blah sound and waved his hands as if to shoo away what he saw as a distracting aside from the conversation at hand. If you don't know, then we have to find out. And how would you propose we do that? Serena asked. Merida can't just go using her quirk willy-nilly. None of us can. We could get in trouble. Since when have little details like that ever stopped us? Alan cackled. We can walk into the alley outside, and I'll portal us to a desert or some other remote place. Then, Merida can show off All for One. The others looked at each other as if trying to come to a consensus on the plan. I am curious to see what she can do, Seven admitted. Tapria grinned. I want to watch her smash something. Oh, Alan's joke was cut short by one of Serena's tentacles slapping itself over his mouth. Gross, Serena said. Just don't. We already have Minetta. We don't need you continuing your horn-dogging through this life, too. I'd be happy to show off for you guys, but there's a problem, I said as I watched their antics. Like what? Tapria asked. Think about it, I said. Even All Might couldn't go all out in a fight, or he'd destroy whatever continent he was fighting on. He could only use the level of All for One he needed at the moment of impact, so he didn't cause catastrophic damage. No matter where we go, if I go all out, people will notice. More than notice, they'll know exactly when it happens, because it would cause devastation on a massive scale. All right, Alan said as he grinned down at me. So, let's go off the planet. You or I can portal to us all to somewhere else, and you can go all out. Wait, really? Serena asked. We can go to different planets? Alan smirked. Oh, she hasn't told you about Jupiter yet? What about Jupiter? Serena looked at me. I sighed and rolled my eyes. Don't worry about it. No, we're not skipping this chance. Priya laughed as she grabbed my shoulders and shook me. Let's go somewhere you can really let loose. We want to see what you can do now. I pinched my lips together in amusement. Fine. But wherever we go, you all have to stay close together. Keeping breathable air contained takes concentration. Alan laughed and slapped the table. We're going to Mars, baby. Mars? Really? Couldn't just to the moo? I tried to protest, but the cheer had already rung up around the table. I sighed and laughed at their enthusiasm. I created a quick spell of invisibility. We could leave the cafe quietly. Once we were in the alley, away from prying eyes, I captured a large chunk of air around us by creating a cube of extremely dense glass around us. Then, in a quick blink of magic, teleported us away. I don't think they understood where my stone sense was at this point, but knowing where other planets and moons were at any given moment was something I'd started sensing back in the cyberpunk universe. Being able to pinpoint Mars was just a matter of tuning into its orbit. One moment, we were between two buildings on Earth, under its blue sky and white clouds. The next, copper skies and copper-colored ground stretched endlessly before us. As the others gasped at the sudden transition, I opened my arms wide. Welcome to Mars. You actually got us here, Priya shouted with glee. This is so cool. I knew it would be barren, but this really is just empty, isn't it? Serena mused. It's a dead planet, Alan pointed out. What did you expect, Chao? I turned and looked up at them. Just so you all know, whatever happens, it's going to be super bright, so when you see me get ready to throw a punch, you'll want to close your eyes. It's just a punch, Priya said. What's going to be bright about that? Wow, Serena sighed. All these lives and you haven't studied physics? I've been a bit busy, Priya stuck her tongue out. Serena crooked a doubtful, judgmental brow. Depending on how she hits, she'll be creating insane amounts of energy. That energy will superheat basically anything it touches. Big punch, go boom, Alan summarized. See? Priya looked at Serena and pointed at Alan. That was an easy enough explanation. I crossed my arms and chuckled. Are we done with the nitpicking? Are you guys ready for me to do this or not? Yes, Alan shouted. Let's see it, Serena nodded. I turned and melded through the glass and dropped down the few feet to Mars's surface. My feet shifted beneath me into a ready stance. Just as I balled my fist, Priya banged on the glass. Merida! Priya shouted to be heard through the glass. Don't forget to shout something cool before do it. What? I asked with a laugh as I looked back at her. Are you serious? We're in an anime universe, Seven agreed. It follows that you should shout something before an attack. I rolled my eyes. Even Seven was getting in on it now. Fine. I turned away and focused myself. A dead world rested beneath my feet, stretching out in broken reds and browns to a horizon. My hair was still in this low gravity, barely moving, but the power inside me was anything but still. One for all roars in my veins, 9 lives worth of strength piled into one body, eager to be expressed. It was heavier than the planet under me. I could feel it. Like lightning crawling under my skin, like the entire world was holding its breath inside my fists. I dug my feet into the ground, and the soil gave way like sand over brittle stone. The crust was thin, tired, and old. When I pulled my right arm back, a strain raced up my shoulder, past my spine, and down into my toes. Bones creaked, muscles knotted. My body was already screaming in protest, and I hadn't even swung yet. On Earth, I would have to pull back. On Earth, there would always be people behind me, cities at my back, lives depending on restraint as much as power. Here, there is nothing but rock and silence. For the first time, I let the question surface. What happens if I don't hold back? As much as I pretended otherwise, I was just as curious as the others. The answer crackled in my blood. The aura of power flared from me, invisible but real. I felt the ground shudder before I even moved. I exhaled, and with that breath, I let go of every limit I've ever respected. "Titan's calamity!" I shouted, adrenaline coursing through my veins. My fist came down. It's less a punch and more a decision, every fragment of One for All slamming forward in a single, merciless instant. The impact was silent at first. Sound doesn't know what to do with something like this. My knuckles meet the planet, and everything right beneath me simply ceased to exist. Rock turns to light and vapor in a flash so bright it burned white shapes into my vision. Then the world caught up. The shock tore through me and into Mars, a deafening, low roar that I felt in my bones more than I heard. The surface buckles like a sheet of metal under a sledgehammer. A ring of shattered stone raced away from me faster than my eyes could follow, the horizon rising and folding as if the planet was trying to curl in on itself. The ground fell away. For a heartbeat, I was suspended over a newborn wound in the crust, a vast, molten throat of the planet, screaming fire into the thin air. The low gravity turned every chunk of debris into a slow-motion apocalypse. Mountains tore free and drifted upward, glowing at the edges, trailing red and orange as they ascended. Rivers of magma surged and spilled where there were none before, a spiderweb of incandescent veins racing out from ground zero. The tremor rolled through Mars, is like a living thing, a wave that passed under my feet, out to places I couldn't see, cracking and breaking and reshaping a world that had been still for ages. My clothes charred at the edges, the heat wrapped around me like a living cloak, even through the protective field of my own energy. I forced myself to stand in the center of it all, lungs burning, and I looked out over what I'd done. From here, the curve of the horizon is warped, no longer smooth, but slumped inward where my fist landed, a basin so vast it stole perspective. Dust rose up in titanic columns, reaching for space itself. Beyond them, I could sense fragments of Mars already leaving, becoming a ring, a scar that will circle this world long after I left this universe. This is what my power looked like without chains, without civilians, without restraint. It was terrible. It was awe-inspiring. And as I stared into the glowing canyon I've carved into a planet as it pooled with crashing waves of magma, one thought lodged itself in my mind like a splinter. On Earth, there will never be a single punch I throw that wasn't holding back. Not one. As the vapor cloud of rock and sand cleared, and the eye was left hovering over the hemisphere-wide crater that was hundreds of miles deep and laid bare angrily glowing mantle, I could see the other faded. Had their faces not been lit red by the churning magma below me, I was certain they would be pale with awe or shock. "There," I said with an imperious tone that I typically reserved for subjects. "You've seen what I can do. Can we go home now?"